I don't know about you, but I do believe we all got pretty accustomed to being bombarded by marketing all the time. And some computer browsers, they give you add-ons that block those marketing informations. Now, it can be tedious because you have multiple devices. It's not available for all devices. Even smart TVs now have advertisement on them. Now, the good news is when companies do marketing campaign, they always want to measure basically the return of investment. How successful was that particular campaign? Did it help us to sell X of our goods or services? And because they want to track that, or they want to measure that, they need to be able to track that campaign. And the good news is because they can track it, we actually can track it too. And so today I want to talk to you about Pi-hole, something like shut your Pi-hole, but a Pi-hole that can run on a small device like a Raspberry Pi. If you never heard of it, or these pretty cool mini computers that you can build pretty cool stuff with it. And that's a Raspberry Pi 3. The new version is Raspberry Pi 4. They're usually under $100. There's some kits that you can buy on Amazon. And then on top of this one, you can install a open source project that is called Pi-hole that becomes your DNS servers that blocks all the ads. A DNS server is basically, think of it as the phone book of the internet, where when you enter a domain name, let's say you want to go to YouTube, knows where actually the YouTube server is, and then redirects your request to show what's on YouTube there. And so with Pi-hole on a Raspberry Pi, you can basically create this little thing as your DNS server. And because it's pretty much just a phone book, think of it as a big spreadsheet, it doesn't need much power. But just FYI, the Pi-hole also runs on any computer or anywhere you can run Docker containers. It could be on your NAS if you have a NAS solution at home, whatever that means. But today I want to show it to you how to do it on a Raspberry Pi. The version 3 I think you should get pretty at a low cost or decent cost on the internet. Once you have your Raspberry Pi, 3 or 4, whichever version you have, I don't know how, I think older than 3 might be an issue with the operating system I show you. But once you have it, you basically take the little SD card out, you need an SD card reader, and you go as a first step to the Raspberry Pi website. So here we are on the website where we see the operating systems that they have available, and you see there's like different versions. There is the Raspberry Pi OS with desktop and recommended software, just the Raspberry Pi OS with desktop and the Raspberry Pi OS Lite. Now in this case, we don't really gonna do anything with it except using it as that Pi-hole or as that DNS server. So I use the Lite version. So you can basically click here to download the Pi OS Lite. And you also want to download the Raspberry Pi Imager, which allows you to take the downloaded file and put it on the SD card to create basically a bootable image that then can boot on the Raspberry Pi. So once you have that step done, all you need to do is insert the SD card back in there. And don't worry, usually the Raspberry Pi comes just the card, not with the casing. That was a combo I once bought. And then you plug in the network cable, okay, and power it up. And that's it for now. So you want to wait a few minutes, doesn't take that long to be booting up. And then you're going to use any network scanner that you have, or on your phone. There's a lot of free apps on your phone that can do it, or on your computer. Once you know the IP address, you're going to use a basically shell terminal, the bash terminal, that you can through SSH access the Raspberry Pi Lite OS that we just installed on it. Let me show you how that looks. And so I enter SSH IP address -L Pi. That's to say use the username Pi, and the standard password with the steps we did is Raspberry. So it's username Pi and then Raspberry. You can change it, and I recommend you change it, just as you're very familiar with it. You always should not use the default password. So we're logging in, password Raspberry, as I told you. So now we basically enter the command to install the package straight from the internet. And then now you see he's updating the local cache of available packages. And now it basically runs the command downloading the package to our Raspberry Pi straight from the internet, from the website we defined, and installing it. Once it's installed, it shows us this graphical user interface to basically configure it. I use pretty much the standard settings. It does need a fixed IP address because it becomes the DNS server, so we're able to put on our wireless router the IP address. It asks us which DNS provider he should use in case he doesn't know the address. Then what's the list that he should block, which IPs he should block. Here you see the gateway from my network, the IP address. Now I change the address of the device here. Default gateway stays the same. Confirming. Yes, admin interface. Yes, on. I go with all the recommended. Show everything. Finishing it. Finalizes the configuration we just selected. Now he shows us the address. Make sure you write this password down. The password shown right here. There is a way to reset it, but it's easier if you just write it down quickly. Now you get the confirmation that the installation is complete. Now you select to reboot it just to make sure. And with the reboot, it obviously terminates the connection that we had through SSH. Now, while it's rebooting, we know the new address that we gave it was ending with .10 for the DNS server. So now what we need to do next is go to our wireless system and update the entry there. Now in my case, I'm gonna use my phone because I have Google Nest Wi-Fi. So I use the Google app to basically configure it, and let me Google Home, Wi-Fi, and then I can say settings. Then here I have advanced networking, DNS settings. And here you see it's on custom on 192.168.86.10, which is literally what the IP address is we just set on the Raspberry Pi when we installed Pi-hole. Now that's it, we say save. Every device that now boots on and gets a new IP address from your router, whatever system you're using, will get that new DNS service. For those that understand something, you can force your computer, for example with Windows it's ipconfig/renew, to basically get a new IP address and therefore refresh DNS server. But basically from now on all these things will be blocked. So let me show you how that looks like in the real world. So if I go to 192.168.86.10, so you can see here that over the past 24 hours, he had about 76,000 queries for DNS from my network. During the workday, that was now the past few days over 100,000. And you see the little gray below is the ones that he blocks. So a lot of the traffic is legitimate. If we look at percentage, so 20 to 25, 30%. So between 20 to 30% roughly is garbage that he basically blocks. And he has a file of 82,000 addresses that companies like the ones I work for use to track marketing campaign and therefore block it. And so if we were to go to a website, MSN for example, shows a lot of advertisement. You will see that here it says advertisement, but there is no ad here. Up here you have a lot of gray space, which usually will be an advertisement, because these websites referencing these locations to download these JPEGs or video files, which actually is going to make your internet a little bit faster, because now I don't download that data, or if you're on a limited data plan, it's just like this here. So all this advertisement is gone, and that's going to be across all the devices in my network, etc. that I use. Now on the Raspberry Pi, you can also log in with that password that we wrote down. So the password that we wrote down, enter it here. And now you see basically more details. You can make your own queries if you want. You can deep dive, you can have some tools, you can add some additional settings, You can whitelist, like if there is things that you want to see that it's not blocked, you could add that so that it's not disrupting. And that will be something that you see over the days that you're using it. In my case, I'm using it now a few days, and I think the biggest one that I miss is if we go to Google. Let's say I search for something like Microsoft. You see the very first one here that says it's an ad, and down here is the actual one. If I open the ad as an example, it will not go because that link there is tagged, and Raspberry Pi basically is blocking it. I can understand if this is annoying to you. For me, it's actually kind of fun because it forces me to make sure that I don't accidentally click on the ad, but go down here, which is the actual first search results in that particular case, to get to the website. I hope you found this helpful. If so, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I will show you a future or an additional project in the near future, also with Raspberry Pi, because it's really unbelievable powerful what you can do with that. And with this, I wish you a great day, and DDavCard out.